Good afternoon and welcome to the McKesson Ideas Share Radio. I'm your host, Amy Weber, Senior Director of Sales and Field Engagement with Health Mart Atlas. Today, I'm joined with Barry Klein, owner of Klein's Pharmacy. Today, we're going to be talking about all the ways that Health Mart Atlas has been investing in resources to help pharmacies be successful. Barry, thank you so much for joining us today. It's nice to have you on the show.
Amy, I appreciate it. It's glad to be here and kind of bring some of that Northeast Ohio flavor. So I'm going to inspire my Kelsey Brothers facade today.
I love it. Yes. Well, why don't you start by bringing that flavor and sharing with our audience a little bit more about you and your independent pharmacy career.
Well, I'm second generation. My father started in pharmacy in Cuyahoga Falls in 1966. Went to Ohio State. I'm a proud Buckeye, so I came back full time in 1990. Been there since 1990, which is hard to believe. It's been 34 years at this point in time. We've had pharmacies come and go within Klein's. Right now, we have the original store. We have a long-term care store. And then my wife, who is also a pharmacist, we opened in an outpatient mental health center in 2008.
That's amazing. And you also sit on our National Independent Advisory Board, correct?
I do, Amy, and it's been an honor and a privilege to participate, provide McKesson with some feedback, some good, some bad, and some harsh, but that's what we're there for, and the people that I've been able to participate with on the NIAB board are tremendous.
Yeah, well, we absolutely appreciate you being a part of that and sharing that feedback. And actually, as I think about it, you have a unique opportunity to maybe see some of the behind the scenes things of what goes on with Health Mart Atlas, making recommendations. So can you just share with our audience a little bit more about that relationship?
Well, Amy, what goes on with the NIAB board is we get a little bit more insight maybe a month before the general Health Mart population does as far as what's going on with contracting. And that's important because then we can provide some feedback is, okay, how's this going to be received? Are there going to be some concerns about this? What does this actually mean? Because that's what everybody always wants to know is what's going on with our third-party contracting. Is it going to get better?
Exactly. And you've been helpful in identifying resources that would be helpful. So why don't you dive into some of the resources that you and your team have used and found valuable?
Right. And it's continued to develop and evolve is myhealthmart.com, which the managed care portion of the myhealthmart.com, it's been very beneficial from us. We study the reimbursement guide, both commercial and Medicare Part D, pretty frequently throughout the year. Definitely as we're getting closer to open enrollment, we study that. We look at what's going on with the different payers, how are the contracts going to be structured, and then within our own pharmacy management system, do we have them properly identified so that we can monitor them going forward? So that's the big thing that we do with the resources. You know, one of the new things that they just added was the PBM communications tab on that. So now those faxes that never get to be seen, there's going to be a resource on myhealthmart.com for those PBM communications that you'll be able to look at it by PBM.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned that and you called out the My Health Mart resource because that is a great area where we're storing all of those things. In fact, I know we've made some investments and enhancements to that, like the PBM contract page, the central pay report, and even the effective rates. Can you share a little bit about how you've used some of those new resources?
Like I said, the PBM communication is a new one that I just became aware of. The other one that we use frequently, and it's not necessarily frequently, but it's the effective rate contracting, going in there and monitoring how we're progressing on our Caremark and our Optum with the generic effective rates or effective rate portions of the contract, whether it's brand or generic dispense fee.
Yeah. I mean, I think our goal is just to help provide that transparency to our members, and certainly that's a report to be able to do that.
Yeah, nobody likes to be surprised.
Exactly. Yes, yes. So if you think about someone that's new to Health Mart Atlas or thinking about joining, what would be the resource that you would send them to?
Without a doubt, myhealthmart.com, go into the managed care tab, study it, look specifically at the reimbursement guides, become familiar with that and understand what does your business look like based on the PBM and the contracts that are going to impact you the most? And honestly, you can whittle it down pretty quickly. It seems overwhelming, but if you look at your BIN, PCN, and RX group, you'll be able to identify your top plans pretty quickly and understand how that's going to impact your business.
Yeah, and certainly we'll always have those webinars that'll help our pharmacies kind of dive in and dissect all of that.
Yeah, the Medicare Part D webinars are extremely informative, and starts that process of open enrollment. What's that going to look like? What plans are going to be in the marketplace? Because that's been changing significantly over the past couple of years as well.
Yeah, yeah, most definitely. So maybe share with us as you think about tools that we should roll out or different resources. What should we focus on next?
Well, right now everybody's been getting notice about the credentialing and contract review.
Yeah.
I think that was one of the foundational pieces that kind of the NIA board's kind of proud of, was having that WAC calculator. And this year it's actually embedded in that contract. So I think educating more people, about that and understanding how to use that tool so that they can evaluate how these contracts are going to impact their individual pharmacy.
Yeah. I love that you called that out because the participation questionnaire is a valuable way that pharmacies can share with us their level of feedback relative to contracts. So one thing that we always are challenged with is how we best communicate some of these updates. So as an independent owner, what are some things that we should be thinking about as we work to communicate all this?
Everybody's a little bit different that way as far as how they receive communication. I mean, Connect is very helpful because most people are logging into Connect at some point in time. myhealthmart.com, but you have to make it a habit of connecting to it. The emails are helpful, but more in a summary type fashion.
Valuable. And so maybe before we end for today, can you just share with us and really the listeners one thing that you want to make sure that they leave here today?
Well, first of all, definitely check out the resources that are available. Start to learn and understand them, and don't be afraid to contact somebody at Atlas to walk you through that, because they will help and assist with that. And then the other thing is the survey. Spend some time, learn it, because that is going to impact your business. And it's an opportunity to provide McKesson Atlas some feedback, is what are acceptable contract terms. And believe me, I can tell you, McKesson does listen to that. It is not necessarily a two-way street going back to the PBMs, but it needs to be voiced and stated what is acceptable.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that. I think you've shared some valuable insights for our listeners here today. With that, I want to thank our listeners for tuning in to the McKesson Idea Share Radio. This is your host, Amy Weber. Want to continue to encourage you to stay engaged, stay informed, and keep sharing your ideas. With that, we're signing off. Have a great day.